Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. I think you can still say that. I'm going to give a few updates on what the Select Board is working on before I open it up and to go around the room. One of the things that we're working on is we are working to renegotiate the town manager's contract, which needs to be renegotiated by the end of the fiscal year. We do that in executive session, and once the contract is final, it will be public information. The other thing we were working on, you're probably aware of this, is that we've written the charge for a tax relief committee, which will look at the data we have so far regarding the residential tax exemption and explore other tax relief alternatives that are available to the town. We have the charge. Wendy Ravelli is going to be taking suggestions from the select board members to appoint people. If you're interested in serving on that committee, please fill out a volunteer card and contact one of the select board members. And finally, Megan Zamuto and myself are working on drafting a charge for the land use matrix, which is our process to match the land that could become available or is already available to the town to the needs, to the many needs we have. On primary among those needs is a new public works facility and a new public safety facility. So we're going to use a process. We haven't yet identified the people. We know the groups we'd like to have represented. We'll be talking about that at subsequent select board meetings and pull that together. And then finally, we're getting ready for town meeting. Some important dates you might want to remember are that the warrant opens on Friday, January, need my glasses, 17th. It closes on Wednesday, February 19th. So if you're considering a warrant article, those are your dates to remember. And then finally, the caucus is being held on January 27th here in the town hearing room, where we nominate people for elected positions. So with that, I'm going to turn it over. I think I'm going to start today online and hear from the people online, if that's okay. And I'm going to go by who I see. Carrie Rankin, do you want to go first? Morning.
Sure.
Morning.
Good morning. I'm sorry I'm not there today. My morning has been derailed by a sick child, so grateful for the opportunity to do virtual today. So CPS, Julie, we had a conflicting meeting this morning. We have a budget workshop this morning at the same time. So Julie is at that. I'm here. A couple of updates for both the region and CPS. One is the most exciting, as we are very excited about opening a middle school in 7 weeks. We are on time and under budget, which is pretty amazing. Students will be moving in on Monday, February 24th. Staff have been given boxes for packing. There's all these plans underway for celebrating the building and whatnot. So we're getting really excited about that, and we'll be talking more about plans in the coming weeks. And then in the spring, once we've had a chance to kind of get kids settled in the building, there will be an opportunity for the community to see it as well. Last night, there was a CPC meeting. Both CPS, Dr. Hunter presented on the Thoreau project. We're doing a big outside project that CPC is considering contributing to. And then at the region, Julie, Alexa, and Brian, who are on our campus completion subcommittee, presented on the option to help support the amenities building, which we are, which we continue to work on ways to supplement funding for that. But we will be discussing at our meeting on Tuesday whether or not to go forward with an amenity, with a warrant on that this year. Look into private fundraising and doing it next year. We're still up in the air and trying to figure out where that's moving forward. We have a very busy agenda on our Tuesday meeting with our budget. The highlight is that we have at both CPS and CCRSD, we will be bringing budgets within the guideline to town meeting. So we're really talking about what does that look like from a operational perspective. So that is going to be the focus of our spring, essentially. And then we're talking about a variety of warrants, nothing major other than the amenities building, small warrants for town meeting. That's about it at schools.
That's a lot. Thank you, Carrie. Who else is online here? Warren, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm going to report on the Concord Municipal Light Board. And our priority for this whole calendar year is going to be to ease a transition to time of use rates. The light plant pays varying amounts for the electricity that it purchases from outside the system, but up till now, we've charged customers the same amount no matter what time they use the electricity or what the cost is to the light plant. With new advanced meters in place for most everybody in the town, it's now possible to come up with a system where the rate of electricity is going to vary by the time of day so that we charge more at those times when it costs more and we charge less at those times of day when it costs less. Hopefully, this will encourage people to move their electricity use to those times of days where the cost to the system is less, and that will bring down rates for everybody. And there's a lot to be done to make this transition happen. We're starting on it now. The first task we're addressing this month is to look at the design of the bills that customers will receive, trying to make the information clearer, simpler, and clearly convey the time of use rates and the key information that people need in order to reduce their electricity costs. That's what I have.
Great, thank you, Warren. Who's next? Tui.
Good morning.
Morning.
Chair of the Concord Cultural Council. And we've just completed our grants. I don't know what people know about the Cultural Council, but our traditional charge has been we have received some 30 to 40 grants from artists around the area, and we grant money that's been given by the Mass Cultural Council to us. Typically, that's around $7,400, and the township's in 2, so that's 94. We had a little left over this year. We gave out grants totaling $9,857 to about 31 recipients. A little bit left over for our reception in May. You're all welcome. Artists from around the area, people who've received grants come to that. That's usually at Concord Art, thanks to Kate James and their generosity. But this year, we have also received we are now administering the Concord Center Cultural District, and that's a bigger bit of money. $15,000 is given both to our center and to the West Concord Junction Center, separate $15,000 there. And our committee has lost 3 members, and we've just gained 3 members. And so we are working to figure out how to go forward with the Concord Center Cultural District work coming up and come up with some initiatives. So watch this space and see what happens in the downtown Concord area in the next the next year. That is it for the Concord Cultural
Thank you,
Council.
Tui. Thank you. Who else is online? Andrew. Andrew Boardman, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure thing. Andrew Boardman, Chair of the Planning Board. We are finalizing our warrant articles for the year. We have 8 this year. And we continue those discussions. One thing that will be important is we need more members. We have one who is stepping off at town meeting and one who is possibly moving out of town. So if anyone knows anyone who would like to be part of the planning board, please reach out to me or Elizabeth Hughes. And that's pretty much all I have.
Thank you, Andrew. Who else is online? Randy.
Hi, yeah, Randy with the Board of Health. Updates, our monthly meeting is tonight, so preliminary updates, we have an opiate prevention coordinator and mental health coordinator who are recent hires by the health department to address those issues and support people in the town, and those individuals are both starting or have started already just recently. They'll both be presenting at our meeting tonight. The health department's actively hiring another inspector. There was an inspector who resigned recently, so a little understaffed currently, but looking to get another health inspector starting soon. And kind of general health things as an emergency physician, if you can spread the word. Respiratory season is well underway, lots of COVID, flu, and RSV out there. So please remember to wash your hands and wear a mask if you're sick, and very much appreciated. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you. Mark Galis.
Thank you. Yeah, Mark Galis with the Transportation Advisory Committee. So we're working on a number of things. Short term, the biggest activity is continuing to support staff and the Public Works Commission for the bonding articles for roads, sidewalks, safety aimed at town meeting, bringing things up to quality functionality and more economically cost-effective, maintainable condition while improving safety. And longer term, one of the things we're working on is kind of early discovering and brainstorming about how the town might benefit and might develop some forms of public transportation where we're looking at, who would benefit in terms of residents, workers, employers, visitors, and what kind of funding mechanisms might be. Other benefits could be reduction of requirements for parking and reduction of congestion, et cetera. And of course, there are a lot of interlocking parts with new developments that need transportation or could be worked into a transportation network. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Anybody else online? Dan Drazen, do you want to give us an update?
Good morning, everybody. Dan Drazen from Concord Housing Development Corporation. The biggest initiative our group has been focused on is the site on Old Marlborough Road that we're redeveloping into 3 additional units of homeownership income restricted housing. And we have retained Habitat for Humanity for this initiative. We went through an RFP process last year, and we selected Habitat for Humanity, and we're really excited about working with them. The town has collaborated with Habitat on other projects, and it's really been successful. So we are in the process now of contract negotiations, and we are going to be executing a contract to start some site work as soon as the weather allows that work to start, and then the balance of the work will start in earnest this spring. So that's really our biggest initiative right now. I think the only other thing I'll mention is we're continuing to keep tabs on the MCI Concord planning process and making sure that the affordable housing community is represented in those discussions.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Anybody else?
Thank you.
I think we're good. So let's start here. Pat, do you want to go?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Sure. Pat Nelson, Concord Middle School Building Committee. Yes, as Carrie said, we are eagerly anticipating the February 24th opening of the middle school to the children who will be taught there and the teachers, and it looks like it's on target. As we expected, the auditorium will not be ready on the 24th, but it will be likely ready by the end of March for use. As well, the signage on the road for the Ellen Garrison building at Concord Middle School will not be up by the 24th of February, but it will be soon after, and at our meeting tomorrow, we'll get more details on the timeline for that. The committee will be going to actually walk through the new school on January 22nd. We're all looking forward to that. And I just wanted to note how impressed I have been as a co-chair with the very thoughtful discussions about how we apply resources to making sure this building opens on the 24th of February on time and still remains below budget. And I want to call out Lori Hunter and Gail Dowd for the work that they've done helping to manage this project to make sure that we get to where we need to be, and their ability to keep the committee chairs informed and the committee informed of decisions that we need to make as a committee to apply the appropriate resources. So I think that we should all be grateful for the work that they've done. The below budget thing is fabulous, but I will always remind folks that we haven't started tearing down Sanborn yet. And there may be some unexpected costs associated with that, but we feel like we have the contingencies that we need. So, thank you.
Pat, can I ask, and Carrie might have said this, but is there going to be an open house or a ribbon cutting ceremony or something?
We wanted to get the schools wanted to get the children into the building, settled, get everything, let the dust settle, and then later in the spring, late winter, early spring, there'll be an open house for the community.
Great.
And there'll be a ribbon cutting, and we're looking at all of those people who've contributed to the work of this committee, to celebrate them and to thank them for all the hard work. A lot of citizens were involved in this.
Good, thank you. Sven?
Yes, Sven Weber, Chair of the Public Works Commission. As usual, the list is long at Public Works. Just focus on a few things. We have two non-standard articles for town meeting. One is the roads program, and the other one is the stormwater facility enterprise fund. So we are working against that. On the roads program, a little bit of news of success given the work of last year. We were able to increase our PCI rating by a couple of points. So the roads are starting to get better. But if we would continue at the current level, it would very quickly go down again. So the rationale is to fast forward some investments into a 5-year period, 5 years of $5 million of investments into roads, and then after that going back to a $2 million per year maintenance program. We estimate, and we're getting concrete numbers on that, that will bring us with the PCI rating above 80. At that point, we can maintain the quality of the roads at a good, kind of reasonable budget. And as Mark mentioned with TAG, we're working closely with TAG to synchronize and being smart. When we spend the money on a road, what else can be done? Can we do traffic safety, pedestrian safety measures while we are doing work on the road anyway? That's mainly it from the long list of things we have on
Great.
Public Works.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about stormwater at all, or?
Yeah, on stormwater, I think I gave a little update last time. Again, we have to do two things. We have to get a budget approved from town meeting, which we will propose about $1 million. And then the rate will be set by the Public Works Commission. Our intention is to set kind of a rate subject to budget approval before the town meeting, so that the citizens have an understanding of what the rate structure is and what their annual or / monthly fee exposure is. Again, the idea is instead of right now, stormwater costs are financed by 93% of the taxpayer, to shift that away to the properties who have impervious area, independent of are they paying taxes or not. So that means as we will reduce, only half of the cost will be paid by residential taxpayers, and the other half will be paid by commercial, schools, whatever the state owns, all these properties that are currently not really paying massive taxes. And we build in incentive to reduce impervious areas. So if someone is doing measures to deal with the runoff water, then they can get credits and can reduce the fees.
Great, thank you. Paul?
Hi, Paul Bohm, 2229 Main Street Advisory Group. Nothing new other than just a reminder that the report is in. We have a hearing on February 10th with the Select Board and the public. Questions will be asked and answered, and then subsequent to that, the Select Board then decides whether to proceed. Proceeding means a letter to EPA and Department of Justice indicating an interest, and that'll kick off a process that'll probably take several years of negotiation, resolution, to figure out under what terms the site would be acquired, if it's acquired. So it's the beginning of a process that'll start hopefully this spring. So that's that. I want to also report on the Recreation Commission on behalf of Phil Griffiths, the chair, specifically on the Doug White playing field work. So we are working with town manager. The town manager is contracting with a consultant to evaluate the different artificial turf options. So it is artificial turf, but there are actually several different options and materials. So the consultant will be evaluating those materials, will be presenting costs, we'll look at environmental impacts, and that will lead to a public session that the Recreation Commission will lead, public comment period. That whole framework is yet to be resolved. We're going to be discussing that tonight at our meeting, just what our role is going to be in Doug White moving forward. But the intent, I think, of everybody is to get this done by this summer, but that depends on availability of supplies, and we don't know exactly what the supply chain holds for us. So it's going to move expeditiously, and Public Works will contract the installation itself. So, and the cost of installation are not exactly known yet. So there's a lot to be resolved in the next couple of months, but Recreation Commission is playing the role in interfacing with public and getting public comment.
Excellent, thank you, Paul. Andrea, you have,
I do have one item. I've turned my attention to the volunteer program. So being able to track volunteers and being able to put them together with boards and committees who are searching for people. So if you are interested in certain people, have certain qualifications you're looking for, please feel free to shoot me an email on what you're looking for, and I'm happy to follow up with you. There are a few people that are communicating with me fairly regularly, so feel free to do that, and I'll be happy to try to coordinate that for you.
great. Thank you, Andrea. Eric, would you like to? Oh, yeah, you need a mic.
Hi, I'm Eric Dahlberg from the Finance Committee. The big update from the Finance Committee is that we've finalized our guideline for the fiscal year 26 budget cycle. The number we finalized is 2.79%, which, if you're not a FinCom groupie, may not mean a whole lot. Suffice it to say, it's significantly lower than in prior years. Last year, just for context, our number was 3.26%. So it's significantly lower. More important than the number, though, is the fact that, as you heard from the chair of the school committee, all of the budget units have shared that they expect to hit it. So we're going to go into town meeting aligned on the guideline, which we on the Finance Committee view as a big win for the town and for the taxpayers, and just for the kind of spirit of collaboration we've tried to foster across the budget units this year. We're on a little bit of a hiatus now. We turn our attention to the budgets themselves and our public hearings in the lead up to town meeting. Our next meeting is February 13th.
Great, thank you, Eric. Thank you. Brad.
Hi, I'm Brad Hubbard Nelson from the Climate Action Committee. This year, we are going to be working on updating the Climate Action Plan, and that will involve a consultant. So in the first few months, we're just reviewing all of the sections with the relevant people that have been working on them. For example, with the natural resources and public works and et cetera, on various actions in that Climate Action Plan from 2020. So that is going to get updated every 5 years. And let's see, we're going to be having some green home tours in March together with CMLP. Those are inviting residents to come and see what people have done in electrifying their heating and other transportation in their houses. That was a success last year. We had well over 100 people attending that. And then also this year, we're going to be working on the Municipal Vulnerabilities Program, MVP 2.0, to get some grant funding for community resilience. And we're seeking a couple of new members because one guy dropping and one guy moved away. So I will get in touch with Andrea about that.
Thank you. Eve.
I'm Eve Eisenberg, here as Vice Chair of the CPC. Don't have a beard, but I'm standing in for Burton. And I'm sure he told you last meeting that we were able to approve 6 of our 7 projects. We've now, as of last night, approved to support the Thoreau Park project for $440,960, I think is the number. And also we approved to set aside some money for historic preservation reserves to the amount of $185,928 to bring that up to the 10% that we're required to set aside. As you heard from Carrie, we also had regional schools present to us about possibly supporting the amenities building out of sync with our regular schedule. And we are, I'm not sure we're looking for any members, but that's pretty much all I have to report.
Great. Thank you, Eve. Kristen.
Good morning. I'm Kristen Haggerty. I'm here for the Town Meeting Study Committee. So the 3 initiatives that we looked at in terms of last year's town meeting was Australian ballot, which we decided not to recommend, electronic voting, which we decided to recommend, and this week we discussed a recommendation to stay with open town meeting as opposed to going to representative town meeting. And then our focus for the upcoming month is certainly going to be fine-tuning our recommendations, which will include days of the week for the meetings, times, start time and end time for the meeting, information that we can get out, and campaigns to engage more citizens to attract people who aren't aware of town meeting or who may not be coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Court Booth, I'm representing Concord 250 this morning. The calendar turned and now the planning is picking up. It's really moving at a pretty furious pace right now, as many of you know. Important meeting Friday morning where Chamber of Commerce, Town, and Concord 250 come together and work with the business community to try to encourage and support their full participation. It's not a small undertaking for them to have their host role, let us say, for the care and feeding of the people we anticipate coming into town on April 19th. A new initiative is that we want to bring 200 to 300 citizen volunteers into volunteer roles as hosts or ambassadors distributed around the town through the day to try to take some of the, let us call it, minor support and host roles away from public safety officials. So there'll be sort of a first line of volunteer hosts. And the training commenced with MEMA, the Emergency Management Agency, at the high school this past Saturday. Some of you were there. And we had our first group of about 100 people go through that training. There'll be additional orientation for these folks in event management, crowd control, de-escalation, psychological first aid, communication, etc., so that they feel confident. But we always are reminding people this is a citizen role, it's voluntary, it's not to replace or supplant public safety, which is going to have such a significant role. And then very close to the event,
the specifics of the day in terms of activities, times, locations will be made known to these folks so that they can, in fact, direct traffic around this town, because the issues around people movement, cars, buses, trains is not insignificant for the day. Happy to take any questions, but certainly offline if you want.
I just want to add to that, Court. Thank you. That was very thorough. The 250th Executive Committee comes to the Select Board regularly, and the next time they come, they will be addressing transportation, which you talked about briefly. And then, so we've got transportation, public safety, parades, so we'll be getting periodic updates as well at the Select Board level. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Court, I think I heard you say you're looking for 250 volunteers?
Yeah.
Well, it's not just a cute, convenient number.
Yeah.
It's probably the minimum number we need, because we don't want to ask too much of these folks. We want them to enjoy the day in their town as well. So it'll be probably upwards of 25 or 30 locations. Each location will have probably 3 or 4 3-hour shifts involved. They'll be working in small teams so that nobody's alone. So it's going to add up to a good number of people, yes.
So as you continue to recruit, will there be continued trainings for?
Yes, there will, and we'll be doing them not only live, but there'll be online opportunities, synchronous and asynchronous. And then finally, a considerable amount of individual communication with people so that they know where they're going to be, when they're going to be there, who they're going to be with, and so on. And so that it fits their, let us say, comfort and confidence level.
And if people are interested, they go to the website?
They go to Celebration 250 at concordmad.gov, or they come to me, or they come to anybody on 250 who will direct us that way, or they can go to Tish Hopkins, who will forward things to us. A number of ways to reach us. It'll be easy.
Thank you. Christina.
Christina Kendrick, the chair of the COA. We don't have a lot going on, so we have our meeting next week. We're just wrapping up the goals of the staff, and Dan's going to have a few key members come to our next meeting so that the board would like to interact about what those goals are. Throughout the day. Oh, sorry.
Okay, we're just, the staff was just wrapping up their goals, and we're just going to meet with them and have a few key members just discuss with the board what their goals are for the year. So
The staff of the Council.
the staff of the Council on Aging.
Got it. Great. Good. Thank you. Stefan.
Stefan Bader, Concord Housing Authority. Last night we had our quarterly housing roundtable. I'll leave Keith to give a more comprehensive report on that, but I think it demonstrated that all of the housing groups are talking with each other and coordinating. As Dan Drazen mentioned, they're working at the CHDC on new construction on Old Marlborough Road at Assabet Ridge. Housing Authority is looking forward to taking ownership of the existing two-family building that's fronts on Old Marlborough Road, hopefully in the next couple of months, as the legal condominium documents and other legal paperwork gets addressed. Other than that, I recommend taking a look at last night's housing roundtable for more details on the other housing entities.
Thank you, Stefan. Rose?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Rose Felix Kratzley, and I'm here on behalf of the DEI Commission, co-chairing the commission with Nancy Brown, who's right there. And we are looking forward to continuing to build on our spirit of collaboration partnership. We closed out the end of last year with a town-wide DEI leadership community coffee that was held at the Goodwin Forum, was extremely well attended, and it was a wonderful gathering of leadership across the community from various organizations and institutions. And it was really a call for partnership and an invitation to collaborate with us. As we look forward, both to the 250th and beyond, we're looking at all the different ways our commission can collaborate with other commissions and entities in town. One example of that is we're collaborating with the Economic Vitality Committee on their upcoming survey to ensure that there is both demographic data that can be collected from business owners in addition to us really getting greater insight into supporting the economic vitality of our community. Our colleagues on the commission also created an online training that is now available and ready to go for anyone here, as well as our community of business owners in town to really learn more about the foundations of DEI and how to build a more welcoming and inclusive culture and community here. And so I want to really pose that invitation to all of you as well, that online training through the town is available to really anyone here and anyone who wishes to engage in it, and it's completely free of cost. So that is ready and available. And so we're looking forward to building on collaboration both with the Human Rights Council and several other organizations, both as we look towards planning the day of activities as it relates to the 250th and leading up to it as well. So, and open to any questions and thoughts offline as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Dan.
I'm gonna be bold. Dan Gainsborough, the co-chair of the MCI Concord Advisory Board. I think we have two big things to talk about. We are out on the street right now with our request for proposal for our initial consulting services, which entails the community outreach piece of it, the visioning piece of it, the economic and market analysis, and then ultimately zoning. We expect to receive those proposals by the 27th of this month, and hopefully we will have that group on board sometime in February. The other big thing is we have a meeting with DCAM. We meet with them every 2 weeks, and we're going this Friday in particular, we're going to be talking about getting an update on the wastewater treatment plant portion of it. So happy to take any questions or pass the mic.
Pass the mic. Thank you, Dan. Teo.
Theo Kinnemans, Chair of the Zoning Board of Appeals. We are continuing processing the cases that have been filed. A quick update on the two ZBA, two comprehensive permit projects. The Novo ownership group, actually, we approved some modifications and some special permits to the 300 and 310 Baker Avenue property, which is the office piece, that's sort of the office parcel that's remaining. We approved those special permits last week so that Novo can now be starting with the with construction of the affordable housing or the housing. When they first came to us, they needed to build a parking garage to comply with parking regulations. That would have cost a lot of time. Now they're just taking away a little bit of office, and we approved a special permit in reduction of parking. So they're going to be in the ground with the housing sooner than originally was planned, which is obviously a good thing. And on Thoreau, we had a meeting last week. A couple of weeks ago, we had, in the meantime, also a working group session where I think we were a little bit underwhelmed with the changes they were proposing. There were some good changes, but we wanted more or different ones. And we'll have a meeting at the end of this month. I believe it's the 23rd. And we'll just try pushing them forward in the right direction, and hopefully early this spring we'll have an approval for them.
Great. So Teo, do you know when Novo's going to break ground?
Sometime this year, I think. They mentioned it, I forgot, but it's a great thing that they don't have to build a parking garage because, to comply with zoning, that would have been up and functioning before they could take the other parking away.
Okay.
So now that they just taking out some building, and this is a result of Welsh moving away. So it all depends also when Welsh is moving, because then Welsh, although they're scheduled to move sometime this spring, you never know with a big group whether they want to extend a little bit. And if they were to extend, well, the moment they move out, they can start demolishing the building, and then they will get into compliance with parking the moment
Right.
you take square footage out.
I think we're concerned about them meeting, breaking ground, so we get credit for the units to meet our SHI, but I think Keith will,
Yeah, the building permit needs to be issued by April 16th, or else those 201 units fall off the subsidized housing inventory.
Yeah, and that's not happening.
Yeah.
I don't think that's happening.
Okay.
But still, I mean, we should.
good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Teo. Dan?
Dan Schmid, co-chair of the Ag Committee. It's a pretty slow time of year for us. We're planning a spring forum, having a little difficulty getting a speaker lined up, but hopefully we'll sort that out.
Dan, do you have a date for the spring forum?
It's sort of open because we want to do it at the library again, and
Uh-huh.
a lot of the dates are taken, and it may be in early May this year.
Okay.
Kind of late.
Okay, keep us informed, because those are good. Alan?
Alan Bogosian, Historical Commission. We always have a bevy of activities and things to do on the commission, but two of the main ones that we're working with is the Historical Preservation Plan, and we're really starting to see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. So we're putting a lot of efforts into that. That's also in conjunction with the Historical District Commission. We're now getting down to having working type meetings. We're accomplishing a lot for the preservation plan. The second one is the Historical Commission now has a liaison on the MCI Concord Advisory Board. So that's a big move for us. We're also looking to increase our members. We've lost one, so we're looking to add a couple more. So I'll be reaching out to Andrea for that. And then we're doing our usual historical markers and demo reviews. And that's it for the Historical Commission.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Dennis?
Dennis Fiore, HDC. Pleased to say we don't have any controversial applications right now, which is always nice. But we're continuing to look at guidelines. And I think I mentioned last time, we want them to be evolving and rolling rather than redo them every 3 years and then they'll be out of date in 2 months. So we've been looking at signage, I think I mentioned, because the signage in downtown Concord is pretty inconsistent based on our guidelines. Which, we're not saying we have to change the signage, we probably have to change the guidelines. So we're looking at that. We're also looking at windows, which are a big problem. Many of you may not know that we actually operate under guidelines from the Department of Interior and the State Historic Preservation Commission, because we're a state commission. So they discourage replacement of original windows. We got a lot of applications because people want to make their houses weather tight. And we should be in the mode of not allowing them to replace original windows, but we need to provide guidance on how they can restore windows and provide interior storms or other things in order to make them tight and to meet their needs. So that's a challenge for us. It becomes extra challenging because it says original material, but if you have a 1690 house and the windows are replaced 3 times, what's original in there? Because the guidelines also say, as the house evolves, you have to keep all the material that's evolved with it. So these are not easy situations to deal with, but we're going to tackle windows. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Bill?
Nope. You don't.
Bill Marachek, co-chair of the Concord Personnel Board. Regarding the Concord's non-union employees and the manner in which their compensation procedures and process takes place, we were asked by some members of the Select Board to take a look at the merit component and the designation of whether it's the old salary or the new salary that should be used for purposes of administering the merit component of non-union employees' compensation. So we're in the process of doing that, and we will have a further discussion at our next meeting.
Great. Good, thank you. Vince?
Vince Carlson, PEG Access Advisory Committee. We oversee Minuteman Media Network and also Comcast service. And we're just in the final stages of finalizing a new 10-year contract with Comcast. And the next step in that is going to be really a presentation to the board to see if there are any issues or questions which we need to go back to the table on. But it's been a very pro forma process. We can't negotiate rates, so it's primarily quote-unquote bells and whistles. We'll be getting an additional HD channel, for instance, in addition to the 3 that we have now. In terms of MMN, of course, they're obviously very busy, and they basically are responsible for covering and posting all of the government meetings in town in addition to the educational and public programming. And in this case, I think you saw one of the Minuteman people just running in here with microphones. So they keep long hours.
They do.
Both in the morning and in the evening.
They do.
One thing that Minuteman Media Network will be introducing in the near future is their own apps, and these are for mobile devices and also smart TVs like Roku TVs. And that's becoming very important because the subscribership now to Comcast has been going down, because of the cord cutting. And there's probably about half of the town now that does not have Comcast service. It's either through, the municipal town service or through other parties. And in order to be sure that everybody is kind of on the same page, these apps will be available to everybody, and you'll be able to see all of the channels, and it'll also be easier to view.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Vince.
Keith Bergman, Chair of the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. As Stefan Bader mentioned earlier, we had a very well-attended Concord Housing Roundtable last night here at the Townhouse and on Zoom. We had updates from the 7 boards that populate that roundtable. And it is a good opportunity for us to make sure we're all heading in the right direction together. From the trust, just some financial things to report. First, I want to thank the town for a $500,000 grant in federal ARPA funds that have been awarded to the trust, which we'll use for acquisition of 91B Main Street surplus state property. Also want to thank the Community Preservation Committee for its favorable recommendation for $740,000 this year to the trust. That'll come to the June annual town meeting. But we don't want to rely solely on local funds, so we're pleased that our state legislative delegation has already refiled the home rule petitions for a real estate transfer fee and a building permit surcharge to fund the trust, where the town is also part of the so-called LOHA Coalition, which is a number of communities with home rule petitions who are seeking a local option statewide, a bill for a transfer fee. And our own Concord rep, Carmen Gentile, will be one of the 2 lead co-sponsors of that statewide bill in this session of the legislature. The trust is periodically updates our list of priority projects that we fund with our available funds. With the CPA funds in place, in June we'll have an uncommitted balance of about $2.7 million to help us figure out the priorities for spending that. We work with our fellow housing groups and roundtable partners, and we're bringing in to help facilitate a discussion among those groups the Massachusetts Housing Partnership, which is the lead agency that deals with local affordable housing trusts. The community preservation committees have a coalition that's staffed and provides all sorts of services for them. We have MHP on a very limited basis, but we were successful in getting some technical assistance support, and we'll be working with them on a facilitated process to give us a methodology, give us a fresh look at what's a good methodology for us to decide what's a reasonable per unit subsidy for using our limited funds. Lastly, on other things, we're keeping our eye on MBTA community zoning, which town meeting passed with allowing for projects of 10 or more units, that 20% of those units would be affordable. And the SJC, the Supreme Judicial Court, last week upheld the law, as you probably all know. And yesterday, the state issued some emergency guidelines to take the place of the emergency regulations, I should say, to take the place of guidelines that were struck down by the SJC. Those guidelines are what we all know, and all the rules that we followed in developing an MBTA communities plan, and so we're looking for that to take effect, those regs to take full effect in the coming months. Thanks.
Thank you, Keith. Mark.
Hi, so I always listen for what got missed that I'm involved with and talk to that. And this morning, that turns out to be the Warners Pond Task Force, which is meeting again tomorrow night at Keyes Road. And this is a good time, I think, for folks that are interested in this to start paying attention. The task force has been working on development of 3 distinct proposals for how we might approach the future of Warners Pond, and those are being brought together in hopefully a consistent way with a common fact set, which should allow the community to begin to form an opinion about what its preference should be. We ideally would like to have the task force recommendation go back to the NRC in March. And there's an expectation that there'll be at least one community forum where folks will be asked to evaluate or comment on their preferences between a maintenance plan, a dredging alternative, or a dam removal alternative. And those documents are beginning to be available for people to review as the task force also tries to determine what its preference is. So a good time to pay attention. Again, the goal is to make a recommendation to the NRC for future action by March.
Thank you, Mark. For those of you who are wondering who the quiet man in the corner there is, that's Dakota Antleman. He's our Concord Bridge reporter. So I just wanted you to know that. So we didn't have, but anyway, so thank you. We've learned a lot. You've got some time. We've got more food out there. Here's your opportunity to network and ask follow-up questions with anyone. Thank you all for all the work you do. I'll see you next month.